the Alison Arngrim Show, and I'm Alison Arngrim. Okay, some of you may remember me as evil Nellie Olson from Little House on the Prairie, but tonight I'm Alison Arngrim, and it's the Alison Arngrim Show. And here on the Alison Arngrim Show, we talk about things that make us feel good, the movies and the TV shows that made us feel good, and the people who made them, and people who are doing things now to make the world a better and more interesting place. And I got one tonight. Oh, yes. So now, just met her, and I'm very excited. She's got a book. And she has done so many things. And here it is. It's, International Women's Day. It's Women's History Month. And I have with me author and actress. This woman, she does everything. She, as Harlan, our fabulous publicist, put it, the definition of self-made came from nothing to reach her success. Hard work, tenacity, intelligence. She's really incredible. She's got a book out called Breaking the Mold. And does she ever? I have with me Blanca Blanco.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me in your show.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on. So, yes, I'm just hearing about you in this marvelous book and everything. And you've done so many things. And I love that, it's called Breaking the Mold. And it certainly is. And you've overcome so much. But I know it's one of the things that I really like about you and reading all your stuff is that you don't fit into the basic categories. It's like, well, this is an actress, and this is a writer, and this is a pretty person who's able to do modeling and be beautiful, and this is a person who goes to university and gets 2 degrees, including a master's. And they're not supposed to be like the same person, and yet you've overcome everything. You went to college, got a degree in psychology, you got a master's, and yet you're also still doing modeling. You have this whole acting career, activism, you've done everything, but you just got back from Paris. And you're in these fabulous gowns and outfits and everything looking stunning. And the whole cliche of the gorgeous girl who's the model and then someone have degrees and you're just going, yep, I'm going to do that too. That is amazing. Do you get a lot of flack for that? Do people not get it that you're doing all of this at the same time?
Well, I mean, people always assume when they know that I have a degree, like when I was doing therapy, for example, they thought I was a massage therapist. I'm like, no, I'm a therapist. I'm a mental health therapist. And that's when I did that when I first moved to LA, because I moved here for acting after I finished my degree.
Right.
My degrees, but I needed to have a real job in the beginning to be able to transition into acting and be able to afford it. So what I did, I worked in hospice care, and my role was to help the patient through the end of life process, helping them with the emotionally, and be able to help them to get from the diagnosis to acceptance. So that was very challenging for me. And at the same time, I was doing auditions. And when I joined the union, the SAG-AFTRA, then I stopped working as a therapist. And so people always say, oh, so you were a massage therapist. I'm like, no.
Yeah, I have a master.
I massage the brain.
I have a master's in social work, yeah, you have a degree in psychology, and master's in social work. But that's the kind of thing. It's like, well, people do this with women. I remember I was in Canada and I was explaining. So I said, oh, yes, I was working at this nightclub. And what did you do there? And of course, I was doing stand-up. And they said, exotic dancer. And I went, no, actually, I was like, oh my God, this woman thinks I'm a stripper. And yeah, I was young and I guess, okay, blonde. But this is the thing. It's like, right, you're a licensed therapist, massage. People can't get it through their head, degree and pretty at the same time. Now, why were you in Paris? Because the pictures are gorgeous and I love Paris. And I was just there in October. And yes, we love Paris. Yes. So what brought you there?
Before the lockdown, I would go to Paris every 3 months. I would open shows for a French designer, Christophe Guillaume. Mm-hmm. And I went there to open and close his show. And it was fun. I also had photo shoots. I did 2 book signings also at the Smith & Son, and then at the Renaissance, another location. And it was very good. So it was nonstop for the whole time. I just got back and I just basically just landed from the airplane and came straight to my office.
Oh, are you jet lagged or are you just a mess?
No, the thing is that I will probably go to sleep around 7 because when I come back, I used to sleep early, but when I come back from Paris, I tend to, get more jet lag. But yeah, but it's fine, like it's normal. But it's the first trip there since, I guess since last year.
Yeah.
But it was because I would go every 3 months, and then with all the, COVID, it was scary to travel, but now I feel safer to go, and you just have to just live life.
You do what you can, you check the numbers. I mean, this is what happened is I had just finished a series of shows in Paris and all over the country in France. I'd just been in Paris and all over the countryside because I do a whole Little House in the Prairie theme French show. And I did it, it was January 2020, and I got home just in time. And then it was like, oh, guess we're not doing that show. I guess we're not doing the fall show. Oh, and I said, show. I said, guys, I can't even like leave the country. I can't even renew my passport. We're not doing nothing. And then we was like, okay, well, spring show. Nope, can't do that either. And the numbers. And finally, we were able to do the October 2021 tour. Normally, I would go all of March, all of October. I went like twice a year, sometimes 3 times. So we made it through October. And it was great. The numbers were low and everybody was like vaxxed a mess. And I swear I was not home 3 days and their numbers went up. And they said, we're not doing that. So they're just now sort of getting a handle and things are going back. It's like I'm going back on the road like in April to a bunch of places. And so it's just kind of you watch the numbers and go, okay, things have settled down. Quick, run out and do as much as you can. Quick. But I so love France. It's a great place. I wound up launching my book there as well. It's a very cool place and it's a great place to be. So you've been through so much, growing up, in California, but your family did not have, but the fact that you went to college, let alone became an actress and a model and everything, your family at one point were both just working like crazy, trying to feed you and the kids, and you guys were living in a garage at one point. Money was so tight.
Yeah, we lived in a garage. It was, thin walls. It was icy winters. Like we had ice on the walls.
Well, you were up in what, Washington? You were up in near Seattle?
Lake Chelan. Yeah, Lake Chelan. It was like really cold. And we were 6, 6 including my parents. And then it definitely, we would go to the Salvation Army to get clothes, and the food banks to get food. We were definitely struggling so much that I thought, I need to share that with people because I see more poverty now. Like I think 131 million new people are experiencing poverty since that pandemic.
Oh, it's absolutely true because I've volunteered at several food banks around and the numbers went up. There's a food bank down the street from me. And when the pandemic hit about a month in, people were just running out of stuff and people had lost jobs and laid off. And there was a line of cars going up around the block. And these people were not people who'd been to the food bank ever before in their lives. Mm-hmm. And it was all they could do to get in line. It was a huge wait time, and it was happening all over the country. So yeah, I think a lot of people now are experiencing these kind of layoffs and delays in work and loss of work, and then people who got really sick and can't work. It's been really rough all over. But your family, yeah, you went through that. You lived in a garage. They worked. They had no money, and they were immigrant parents. Yeah. And so people treated you like you were born here, but you were treated as if you just landed from outer space. So
yeah, for sure, people saw you like if you were an alien. They would say that even to your face, kids. And so I experienced a lot of discrimination, even from some teachers, where they would say words, which I have in Breaking the Mold, a chapter on that. Like I deleted the chapter initially because I thought it's too offensive. Like, I don't like this terminology, but then I put it back again because I'm like, well, it is the reality. And then I put it back in there. Then I removed it. Then I put it back, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm gonna leave it there, because it needs to be, it's something that it's happening still, and it's getting worse. I'm seeing on TV more discrimination, people treating us. The good thing about it now that there's social media, people can post anything. Like if we had social media when I was in high school or middle school, those teachers wouldn't be working at all.
Oh yeah,
So
people get caught on camera. People get caught on camera now.
yeah. So that's a good thing about social media. You know, it has definitely people don't get away from things.
And I'm amazed because I'm older. I turned 60 this year. So I was a little girl in the 60s and 70s. And that's when we were really seeing the big civil rights movement and the fight against racism. And we, Cesar Chavez and Martin Luther King. And it was like, yes, we're gonna end this. And so I was amazed that it's still going. And I mean, I heard people say terrible things and saw insane racism growing up. And I was in super goody liberal West Hollywood. And I still, just the things that came out of some people's mouths, I was like, really? But I did not think that years later that young people would still be dealing with this level of stuff, that this would still be going on. It always sort of jars me, like, what, they're not still doing that, are they? It's horrifying. But of course it is. I pick up the paper and turn on the TV. It's like it's like the pendulum swings, and it's gotten worse. People have just decided, well, if it's not going well for me, I'm going to go pick someone as a scapegoat and decide it's them and yell at them. And this seems to be what's happening. It's horrifying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely, bullying is something that it's getting worse. And kids experience that, especially being an immigrant family. People assume that you're coming to this country to take someone else's job, and they treat the kids as like they're just like bothered to be here, And I experienced that from my experience, and so I just thought, like, definitely it hasn't changed. It's actually getting worse. So I thought I need to leave the chapter, and it's a subject that is very sensitive, but it is still happening. So
well, I love that you read it, that it was so harsh that what happened. They're like, I can't put that in. I got to take it out. No, I got to put it back in.
Yeah, especially the terms that I put there, exactly what they were saying to me. Like, those are very offensive. Like, you cannot, like, to say that to a person, it's like a horrible thing. And I just wanted to just be transparent and be like, yeah, this is the reality. You go through stuff, but your traumatic experiences shape you into who you are. Like, from my experiences, I developed so much drive. Like, all the trauma, it just like, if it wasn't for the traumas, I wouldn't known how much more resilient I was. Or
right, and that's the weird thing. And obviously with the degree in psychology and social, you said, like, the whole post-traumatic stress disorder, and people don't realize, I mean, for years it was, well, PTSD, that's soldiers. It's like, well, no, other people have PTSD, people with child sexual abuse, physical abuse, and certain trauma and people react in different ways.
Yeah.
And sometimes, it can make you weaker. That's like, no, I can't do anything. I'm going to shut down. But then it also causes other people to become terribly driven and say, okay, I'm going to fight my way. It's the fight or flight response. And you clearly went with fight.
Yeah. And what I have in my book also is, like, whenever you have you're more likely to experience post-traumatic growth by 66% than PTSD, 25%.
Really?
So,
now, I haven't heard of this post-traumatic growth. Wait, this isn't a new. I'm like, wait, what?
That's a phenomenon that has been around, but it's definitely you're more likely to experience growth from your experience. And so it is a way of looking at it in a positive way. Like, okay, this is very traumatic, but you're learning. You are able to learn skills, adaptability skills. Like, your drive. How much more you're able to overcome. Like, if your personal growth is definitely also, you grow so much from it. So it is definitely there's some positive way of looking at it as well.
That post-traumatic growth syndrome is literally, you said, 66% more likely
to happen than PTSD by 25%.
By 25%. But see, that's fantastic, because we normally think of, well, trauma, you're going to have difficulties throughout your life, there's going to be damage. But the idea that there could be, that the reverse could be true. I mean, I know that they talked about that people who do experience trauma, that the things that seem to get you through adaptability. If you have an extremely adaptable personality, you have the ability to adapt to different situations. That's something that you can carry you through. But it's also something you might learn from that.
Yeah, it's definitely experiences, you know, that's what we take to move forward, you know. And I know that, like, for me, you gotta, you know, I worked on it every day to feel, I took steps so it would like lessen the damage, because I knew that I would be feeling like maybe it was my fault that things were happening, or maybe I just, this is the path that I supposed to be always, and I refused to accept it. I thought I just need to, you know, I knew that the key to moving forward was to get an education, because that's how my parents didn't have opportunities, because they didn't have a degree in the US. And so I thought I needed to change that. I needed to not repeat that. And so I took steps every day to prepare myself with things that I could control, because I couldn't really, you know, control what was happening to me, like the, you know, living in poverty, discrimination, abuse. But what I could remain in control is of my perception, the way that I see things. So that's when I started working with, you know, managing the negatives to positives, you know, like I was just able to feel that when I saw myself like, oh, I'm gonna challenge myself, this is a challenge, I felt more empowered to do it, to take the steps, and less of the anxiety and depression. But when I just saw myself as a victim, like, oh, like, I just felt I didn't have the power.
That's
So
amazing you said, because as someone survivor of child sexual abuse and bullying and pretty much everything else like that, it's that thing of, no, you couldn't control what happened, but if you see yourself as a victim, there's nothing I can do about it, then you're kind of stuck. If you decide that, well, now I get to decide. I get to decide, do I want to hang a left or a right? Suddenly it feels like this enormous amount of power. It can be the tiniest decision, really, but it's like, I can decide to do this little thing over here. Oh, I can decide. And the first time I realized, like, I could decide even the most simplest thing, it was like, wait, I can decide that. And I can decide to get help and go to therapy. I can decide to do this or this. And then even if I said, no, I'm too tired, I can't do that, I could decide, well, I'm just too tired to pursue that right now and go take a nap. But I decided. Like, literally, even that made me feel like, wait, am I getting control of my life? And it does. It makes a difference. It's in the mindset. And then, yes, set it as a challenge. Okay, all of these horrible things went down and I'm impacted by them. Now, what's the challenge to go have a life anyway?
yeah, I mean, it's definitely something, you know, it is the choices that you know, when we have the challenges or the obstacles, you feel, or the problem, you feel so much weight, you know, like heavy weight. But when you see it as a, like, more manageable, like something that you take steps every day, you're able to take the problem into smaller pieces, so then it's less overwhelming for people. And that's what I share in my book. It's about, like, taking steps, you know, with breaking the problem down into the smallest, you know, parts, because that's what I did as a kid. I mean, I couldn't really change that I wasn't living in a garage. I couldn't change that we didn't have food in the house sometimes. But every day, like, okay, I focus in school. I could do that. I could study hard. I would eat at the school. You know, it's like you find things to, you know, to survive. You know, you just don't sit there and wait things to happen. So I definitely developed this drive, and that's why you say, okay, you do this and that. I never believe in labeling. Like, when people label me, I think labeling is putting people in boxes, and it just separates and creates divisions. So I thought, well, I want to be an actress in Hollywood, but I have to get my degree first, because I cannot just, like, yeah, I know that that's the key for me. You know, for other people it might not be the key, you know what I mean? It could be whatever it is for you that works for you. It's not a book about pushing education, you know, with people, because I strongly believe in higher education, but, like, think I'm the only one that has a degree in Hollywood that I met, you know. So it's different, you know. But I'm just, for me, it really, I developed a foundation. So when I came here, I was more prepared. Whenever I do business with people, that I'm well respected. because I am like definitely like, you know, I have strong work ethics, and I don't go with attitude to work. I feel very grateful when I'm on a set, because I always think that, you know, experiences are temporary. You could have like something going on and then you don't have it again. And that's the way the industry is, like with movies. You could book something in 1 month and then 6 months you're still looking for a job.
See,
So
the fact that you have this realistic attitude, the fact that you came, so many people come to Hollywood, go, I'll be a movie star, and they have no plan. They
yeah.
just say, well, I'll get them. I'll be there a week, and then I'll be in a highly paid series, and that'll be it. And you're like, okay, I know that I'm not going to get work right away. I know that I'm going to have to do stuff. I'm going to go in with a degree, but also a degree in psychology. Hello, that is what acting is about. So you
definitely. It was very helpful for sure, because whenever I work on a character, I always go find the child, like be able to work on what was the childhood of my character, what experiences shaped me to who I am today, like from the character, you know. And also it helps with dynamics, because you're dealing with different crews every time, different personalities, and I'm able to work with different groups. I'm able to I don't really have, I'm trained to do damage control, you know, you know, like doing everything to help my patients, you know what I mean, like to problem solve. Like I'm skilled for that. And so whenever working on a project, I always get called, you know, I get offers after without having to audition, because I already did a movie with them. They like my work, they bring me back. So that's why I work a lot. And then with modeling, I wasn't, to be honest with you, when I moved to LA and I did modeling, like I went to a couple agencies, and they're like, oh, you're too big, you need to lose weight. And it was like, seriously, I just have hips, I'm Latina, you know? And so, but then I thought,
emphasis on being so thin. What I mean, because it's a racial thing too, to be super skinny. Oh wait, what if you're Italian? What if you're Latina? You're probably going to have hips.
Yeah, and so then what I did was like, well, I'm gonna do the non-traditional way. I'm gonna do my own. I will be my own agency. You know what I mean? So then what I did, because you know, whenever I do red carpets, I tend to go, you know, viral. Then I would get calls from designers directly, and then they hire me for editorials. I've been in all the fashion magazines that you can think of, and it's been through my own stuff. Now with agencies and people that are in big agencies, they reach out to me. Oh, how you know, who's your agent? Can you help? And like I actually don't have an agent for modeling, but I'm doing a lot of, you know,
I expect you'll get one soon after this show. But you're so smart, because you're not just like acting. You're like, okay, and I have to market myself, and and if they're not handling me, I have to get seen. So then I can. You think of these things. And like, as you just said, there's still people arriving every day in Hollywood, and people working in Hollywood who don't get it. And you said, well, you know, you could work, and then maybe you don't work for 6 months. That's like rule one that I was taught even as a child, and that people don't realize that. It's like, oh, I got a job, and now you don't have one.
Yeah, that's why you kind of, the whole idea that you don't know when you're gonna have the next job, that's so like that idea in this industry is like every day. Like that's why like I remember when I started doing PR, I didn't really have big projects or nothing, and people are like, why are you doing PR? You don't have like anything that is, you know, like when you start, oh, I'm creating my brand. So like I understood the branding, you know, like, but I did so much research, you know, like when I came to LA and I interviewed people, asked questions, and I prepared myself. I didn't just come like, oh, I'm gonna be an actress. I came with, you know, I came for meetings the summer before I moved here. I met with different people that I was able to, you know, they became my mentors, and I read books about the film industry, how it works, because I was the first one in my family to be in this industry. I don't know, I didn't have any family, any friends. I just came into this territory with nobody. I had no clue what the process was, but I mean, I knew like with the research that I did, but really to apply it is different, because then you got to start meeting people, you know. And so relationships is very important, like because people are not very loyal in Hollywood.
The things, you know, this is like, yeah, hello.
Yeah, and so you gotta be very careful, and I feel that my background has really like prepared me because I can read red flags in a second. So I'm like, okay, whatever.
And
Like,
see, this is the thing, and we're hearing so much more about it, since Weinstein finally going to
yeah,
jail, that there's so many people. I mean, sometimes there's just, as they say, difficult directors or producers, people who they have an enormous ego. They may have their own personal psychological problems. They may be alcoholics, they may be drug addicts, they may be cocaine addicts, or they're just terribly insecure and they now have this huge job at a studio and don't know how to handle themselves, or they're really completely off the charts abusive cuckoo like Weinstein, and you don't know who you're going to get. And there's a lot of people who are very insecure, who are suffering from severe emotional issues, who are in show business and who are on drugs and alcohol and are in show business. And you don't know. You can arrive on a set and you're all right to go, and the director's got a problem. The producer's
yeah.
got a problem.
So
And
you
they're
gotta learn how to, work with different people and be able to get through your job, because yeah, the people are very. I mean, I've been on so many sets where people don't even show up prepared, like the actors or some producers are just have attitude, and it's different personalities and behaviors, and for me that it's not, I've been able to really apply my background. So, and also just your intuition, because I do share in my book a chapter where there was a con artist that took advantage, and but nothing happened, but I did share the experience to just kind of warn newcomers, like you always have to be on the guard with people. And
so
so
smart, because and that's good that your book is an instructional warning, because
yeah.
so many people they come to LA and they come to or New York for show business and they really don't know. They really don't know. And terrible things happen. We see it on the news, so terrible things happen to people. And the fact that you're saying, okay, the background in psychology and social work is brilliant. And I've always said you should study psychology if you want to be an actor. And most acting teachers, I know, they tell kids in college, well, while you're here, why don't you study psychology? That'll be but it's not just to break down characters, it's to get through the day on a film set.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, yeah, to be able to to manage the day. Yeah.
But I think, what would you say to a young actress now? Because I mean, you've managed to excel in all these fields. What would you say? Obviously, in your book, you talk about this. So, what would you say to a young actress right now who says, "Well, I'm thinking of moving to LA and I want to be an actress and a model"? What would be the first thing you would tell her?
Do your research, understand how the system works, and then start making a to-do list of what you need to do. Okay, you need to get an agent, you need to get a manager, you need to get your headshots, you need to get your reel, you gotta work on your resume, you gotta like everything you gotta do, make a to-do list and work on it every day. Because if you don't do the foundation, that's gonna help you with getting started. and and then also you gotta take workshops, you gotta do classes, you gotta like do so many things. It's not just like, oh, I'm gonna just show up and get discovered. Because people, like, when they started seeing me in the, like, when I would break the internet, they would be, oh, you just got discovered. I'm like, no, I've been working on it for years.
Right?
You
It's like,
saw
oh,
me,
it went
you finally
viral
saw
after.
me. It's like, you finally saw me, that's what it is.
Right, and that's the old joke about the overnight success that only took 30 years to get there. Yeah, but I remember another old expression was, "How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time."
Yeah.
That breaking things down, and a lot of people don't think of that. They get overwhelmed. They get completely overwhelmed by all the things. It's like literally you break it down into teeny tiny steps.
Yeah, it's just like when you do the same idea when you write your list for your day. Like if you do a to-do list, you write every step that you're gonna take and you just do the check mark. Check, 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 So it's the same idea with the problem, you break it down and then just take little steps, because then that will help you to not get overwhelmed and then just actually complete the task that you need to do.
That's just so extraordinarily methodical, and most people don't do that. And now, in writing about, as I said, the previous trauma and the bullying and the racism, you also then had, if things happen, because as you said, we had the pandemic, we had the lockdown. You were living in Malibu when the Malibu fire hit and took out everybody's house, burned out a bunch of people I know. You lost your house in the Malibu fire.
Yeah, I lost everything in the Malibu fire. I basically, I only took one suitcase, carry on. And when I went back, everything, it was like red coat, you know, it was all gone. But the thing is that I was stressed about it because it's like shocking that it happened. But I felt I had worse experience as a child, you know, like I didn't have anything. And if I survived it as a child, I can survive this. The difference is that this time, it's not like I'm gonna go back to basics or start with nothing. I have so much experience and growth. So yeah, I lost everything around me, you know, like my material stuff, but my experience, no one can take that away from me. So I didn't start at zero, you know. It's
But
like,
that's incredible, because most people would say, well, losing your house, losing everything, that is horribly traumatic. It's awful. It's awful.
yeah,
But
it is obviously a process, an emotional process, but you gotta also accept that it happened and not dwell on the situation, because when you're focusing on the past, you know, you gotta like keep moving forward. So it just kinda, you know, you can't really like are able to, if you're like that's and I share that about that, like the whole idea of guilt and you know, when you go back to like your memories from childhood, like if you are an adult and you're still making choices and blame your childhood for things, then you need to see a therapist, because if you're an adult, you should be able to go and address those issues and not blame your parents or blame other people for your life choices, because we can't blame others for the choices that we make or how they make us feel, because the only person that is responsible of the way we act and feel is ourselves.
But see, it's when you take that jump and say, well, I'm the only one, it's not that, you know, we still acknowledge, okay, this happened and hurt me. But when you say, I'm not going to, it means then you get to decide.
Yeah, you make that choice.
Hey, this person wanted me to be unhappy, but no, I've decided I'm going to have a good time. And so but I would think that with writing about trauma and then having the trauma, sometimes when something traumatic happens, like the fire, like that, it re-triggers. You kind of go, ugh, you have all the other trauma. It kind of, you know, stirs the pot. And you didn't find at all that trauma stirred up old trauma, which has made you tougher?
Well, definitely, you know, traumas. And yeah, when I had the fire, like I couldn't sleep for many days. Like I had certain smells triggered you know, when I was escaping. And definitely, you know, everything was like overwhelming. And so even though it was overwhelming, I still followed through with my commitments. Like I went to Las Vegas for the Latin Grammys, and I remember just before the red carpet, I had tears. Then I had to just get back to do my work and be professional, you know. And then I flew to Marrakesh. The whole flight, I was still in shock that I didn't have a home, you know. But I still, you know, it was very therapeutic. I took it as it's gonna be good to get away, you know, complete my task and focus on that. And at the same time, you know, you gotta be kinder to yourself, and be able to, you know, take the time to heal. Like I would you know, I would go for a walk, get massages, or just like stay like just, you know, meditate and stuff. You gotta like take care of yourself, you know, when you're going through traumas, because you gotta, yeah, it's gonna affect you in so many levels. But if you can do things that are productive, like you know, staying, like going for a walk or just doing,
it sounds like keeping the schedule. And I found that it's like, okay, if I still do the thing I was going to do, go to work, keeping sort of the schedule and the routine and the things I was going to do, even when everything's gone to hell in a handcart, that it's like, okay, that gives you some sense, some shred of normalcy. Okay, I lost my house, but I'm still at the job thing that I was going to do.
Yeah. And then also when you have a schedule, when you have a job responsibility, then you have things that you're looking forward to, like the future, you know, like you're moving towards ahead, you know. And so that's like another benefit of keeping a schedule, even though like I would write like my to-do list, even though I was like at a Starbucks, like a homeless person, you know what I mean? And I will write things, okay, I need to go and buy a toothbrush, I need to like make a list of all these things I need to do. And then I just focus on making the list. So I had no, yeah, I was, basically homeless with lost everything. But I still had to, be productive and do things.
I'm feeling so much better about my steno pad and my pen than go ever suddenly like my list. Hi, I have a list, and now it's all making sense. It's like I survived trauma, and oh look, how many lists do I have? I have lists of my list, and the list it makes, and you start getting older, and do you remember everything? Oh, but wait, I have the list. So the list really does, and the list is therapeutic. It really is. I swear by list because. And whether you do it on your phone, I have friends that know that my list is on my phone. I go, my list is on a steno pad. People got posted, everything. Wherever you have the list, it is therapeutic because whether your list is of simple to-dos or like major career moves or how do I get another place to live because my house burned down, as you check things off, even if they're teeny little things, you look at it and you see, oh, I did check it off. And it's that sense of accomplishment. Like looking back on what you survived, going, I can survive this because I survived that.
Yeah,
it builds.
Yeah, it does build. I mean, like I just felt I had experience, even though I never lasted home. But my childhood experience really prepared me. All the experiences that we go through, they help. There's reasons why, like it helps you with other experiences because that's all we go moment by moment and experiences. So definitely I just thought I just felt like I was preparing myself. I prepare myself.
Well, and then you lost your mom in the middle of all of this.
I lost her
writing a book and there's COVID and then your mom got
Yeah, and it was unexpected too. It was very shocking because for 2 years we didn't celebrate together because of the COVID. Like the holidays, we would do Zooms and stuff, and I have that in my book. And so then finally things are picking up, opening, and then she has heart failure and kidney failure, and she died within 2 weeks. And I was her advocate in the hospital, so I took the role of that because my siblings, we knew that she was gonna go to into hospice care, but she was gonna stay at home, And so, but my siblings, they were not comfortable with conversations like that. So I would go to I would have like the meeting with the doctor when he's telling my mom, and just the way that she was so brave. That's why I shared that in my book. She was so brave to take the diagnosis and with so much bravery. So that's something that I'm gonna, when it's my time, I will definitely remember that because I learned so much. Her that amazing skill that she had just before she left. With when it's shocking, but she was not. She was content. We did a to-do list that she wanted to do before she went, and I helped her with that. And once
she had a list.
Yeah, she had a list, and so when we finished I knew that once we finished the list that she probably was gonna be ready to go, and I will prepare my siblings because I did that for hospice for 4 years. Like I will prepare my patients and guide them through the process. And so, but now I was doing that with my real family, my life. And so I knew that people wait. Like it's most people when they have a diagnosis, like they will wait for the last Christmas, the last birthday. Sometimes there's a lot of deaths in January for that reason because the last
I saw that like right after Christmas and you go
yeah, a lot of people because they wait until like it's that moment. And so I knew that my mom, when we did the last thing, that she was gonna go pretty fast because her body was shutting down. And so I prepared my siblings, and I talked that up in the book. She wanted to be comfortable, and so we honor her wishes. Like she just made sure that she didn't want to have anxiety, like when she would go, and wanted us to just be there with her. So everybody was there with her, and it was very peacefully. Like she transitioned it wasn't traumatic for, well, it was traumatic for us, but it wasn't like she was suffering. It was very, very peaceful for her, you know, like she went very comfortable. And so that we're happy about that. That we're not traumatized from that experience as far as her not, you know, suffering when she was leaving. It was very good. And you know, when I did work in hospice, I would say, well, it's never peaceful death, you know, like, but then it's like when you're living with the person day to day, you see the changes are declining and how they have a hard time breathing or walking, doing everything. You see, like, you know, the body starts preparing for death, you know. So then you start seeing all the signs, and I could see, I wanted to just be naive and not know the signs, you know, when I was helping my mom. But then I knew what was happening, and I would prepare my siblings because I was kind of like the bad news person, you know. It's like,
okay, I get that job because I was power of attorney for my father when he was dying of Parkinson's and the whole bit. So I was the one, and like none of us, like nobody could deal. And then I would sit there, and people would the room full of crying people, and I would turn to the doctor and go, okay, so what are we doing? And it was, somebody had to pull it together and say, okay, we got to, do the plan here. And when you know a lot, because having worked with a lot of people with HIV and AIDS for the 80s, when you know a lot and you've seen the signs, you kind of know. You see people and you go, well, they're this person who's very, very sick, and their friends say that they're probably dying soon. No, they're actually not, because I just looked at their eyes and their mouth. And then someone else, you go, wow, this person doesn't have very long. And after meeting a lot of people who are near the end of their lives. So, but yeah, what do you do when you would like to be in denial as the daughter and just say, no, I have no idea, but your training is such, you're sitting there, I know exactly how long this person has to live.
Yeah. And then like another thing is like when people are like, just before they transition, they have like a burst of energy and they look like they're like getting better. And I remember my siblings, we were talking and they're like, oh, she's getting better. Maybe she's gonna heal. And I'm like, we gotta prepare. I think it could be like sooner than we think. It could be
right? Oh, now did the siblings, did they take it from you? Did they understand that? Okay, she knows she's the one.
Oh no, they used to wonder why I did that kind of work. They're like, why do you do that kind of work? That's so depressing. I'm like, well, I did it because I felt very uncomfortable with the whole concept of death and the whole, the initial shock of a diagnosis and then the changes you go through. But I was very, skilled when I work with patients. I was very good at be able to, go through the process with them and helping them. And so when I would share with my siblings, they appreciated that at least I was, because my siblings were very rational thinkers, and so we knew that okay, that's good that you're explaining that this is what we're supposed to expect. This is what is normal. It's normal part of the process, but it's not normal. We don't want that to be normal, but it is,
right? It doesn't have to be mom, but that's incredible that you had that background, were able to help your family. So okay, this is why we totally need to read this book. All this is in there. It's amazing. Now, as an actress also, you have worked with absolutely everybody ever in the entire universe. You've been in so many movies with Danny Trejo, with all these incredible people, with everybody. I love all these people. I am a sucker for Christmas movies, and you did 2 of them. Yeah. I mean, there's all these things. There's everything from horror to crime to all these thrillers, and then you did Defending Santa and The Dog of Christmas.
Yeah,
I'm a fool for Christmas movies. How much did you love doing silly Christmas movies like Defending Santa?
Like I shot my Christmas movies in Monaco, and
you shot your Christmas movies in Monaco.
And yeah, it was beautiful to work with the same children in my Christmas movies and dogs. So it was like we shot one Mission Possible was another movie that I shot in a castle in Italy, and it took place like during Christmas and stuff. But I just really enjoy that whole Christmas spirit because like growing up we didn't have like a Christmas tree, and I always loved we will have trees outside, we will, like
the tree in the yard over there. That's the tree. That's like, the Christmas tree.
Like it snows and stuff, so it's like okay, white Christmas. So no matter what, we were able to manage to find a way to celebrate. And so, but it's just like, I love the whole Christmas spirit, you know, it's like families together, and it's just like a happy time, you know. It was like with dogs and kids, and it was just amazing how the dogs were well behaved. Like really, they were very good. Like
I'm always amazed by set animals, the trained animals on sets. I've worked with so many, and I always go, how did they get them to do that?
I know, they're like little experts, and I would tell my sisters, like, the dogs are, they behave better than, you know, we did when we were kids. You know, they follow direction well and stuff, and you know, we had a very close childhood with my siblings, but we were 5 kids. You know, we were like, you know, find things to do, that we were like, you know, argue and stuff. That's normal kid stuff, you know, but we were never, you know, abusive with each other. You know, it was just kind of like, you just disagree on something. It's something so simple and dumb, you know. But yeah, so I really like the Christmas movies, like the lights and the Santa Claus, and yeah.
I want to do a Christmas movie. I want to do like a Lifetime Christmas movie. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
And you it talks about that you've worked with in training with people like Sally Kirkland and all sorts of amazing people. And that's been to meet. You've met so many of the great celebrities from back in the day, the people who, you know, are veterans of the industry. Do you find that that's really important for young actors to meet some of the older actors? And
well, I think that, you know, older actors, they have so much wisdom, and you can learn so much from them, because obviously they're still successful. They did something right. So I am always asking, whenever I meet people in their you know, they're successful, you definitely want to like learn from them, you know, because obviously, you know, there's something that you could learn, you know, like new things. But I've been working with Sally for over 10 years. She's my friend. You know, we started just working weekly, and then then we were neighbors, and yeah, she's someone that I learned so much from, and she's been my mentor. Like, she would even guide me with the contracts and stuff.
Smart.
Yeah, and also Gordon Hunt, you know, he was an amazing director, and he was my mentor for many years. And so I learned a lot from him, especially about when you go in audition, you just forget about it and move to the next thing.
Yeah, you do. You do. Just like, I do not think about it after.
In the beginning, and you just feel like, oh God, maybe I made a mistake. But that's normal to feel like that, because, you know, if you don't understand how it works. But then when you learn that, what are the probabilities of getting a callback, is 1 out of 10 auditions, you maybe get 1 callback, or maybe none, you know, it's very low. Yeah, if you're lucky, and then nobody calls you to say, oh, you didn't get it. Like, I would in the beginning, because I'm very good with, you know, following up, and, you know, I'm very like, you know, business, you know, person. And then I would not even hear back, and I'm like, how rude is that?
Why aren't you going to call? No,
but it's right? Like, it's not normal. That system doesn't work like that. So I had to learn a lot of my habits, you know, my other career. I had to really just start from, you know, not assuming that that's the same as my academia, you know, experience, because it's not, or my professional as a therapist. Yeah, it's like, you're lucky. Like, Sally would tell me, she would call my cell phone, she would be, Blanca, you're the only person in Hollywood that picks up her phone. I'm like, seriously? That's like, so, or calls back when you leave a message. I'm like, really? She's like, yeah. I met so many people. I mean, I don't know how. She's like, you know, like older, you know. She's like, I met so many people, but you are the only one that answers the phone or calls back. I never. Sometimes people will be 10 years like, oh yeah, you know, 10 years later, you know, you kind of like. I was like, wow, that's disturbing. That was disturbing for me to hear, because I just, you know, I'm so used to, like, you know, strong work ethics, you know, like you follow up with people. If you say you're gonna do something, or you're gonna, whatever you do, like, it's professional. It's just like a respectful thing.
See, but that's why you're able to do all these things. Now, okay, wrapping up. So you have a website. So tell us about the website, and tell us where to get the book.
Okay, so my website is blancablanco.com, and
Yeah,
you can
that's
find me
easy.
on, yeah, you can find me on Instagram, and Facebook. But not many people use Facebook anymore, but yeah, you can.
Hey, I'm on Facebook every day. I love Facebook.
Yeah, me too. Well, that's what usually when you have your friends from high school, and your family
Right?
and stuff. Yeah, and my book is at Barnes and Noble
Excellent. And it's on Amazon.
and
It's at Barnes.
Amazon, and then
Amazon, Barnes and Noble. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And then so it's blancablanco.com. And
yeah,
then, yeah, I know Instagram with the gorgeous pictures. And of course, Facebook, you can read about
yeah,
her. And then the fabulous website, which has everything. It has your bio, your
yeah.
resume, you name it, it's all in there. And the book, but the book covers so many topics. So absolutely
Oh
think
yeah,
Facebook
so
because it's psychology, it's trauma, it's the industry, it's acting, it's poverty, it's racism, all of these topics, everything. This is all in this book. But the theme of overcoming, of being able to go through that and not be bitter, be able to and then have additional trauma and be able to handle that.
yeah, that's we take the experiences and we can either make choices of either moving forward or dwell on the past, and I knew that I wanted to make changes in my life. I wanted to break the cycle of poverty, and I knew that I had that potential. I just had to stay focused and take action. Like I couldn't just sit and not do anything. So that's what I have in my book. Every chapter you have, like I share about like a situation that like an issue, like a problem, but then how I was able to turn it into a challenge, and the courage that I got, and then also the skills that I learned. And I also share tips and stuff that work for me, especially like when we're feeling negative about situations, like how I'm able to change, reframing, like from positive.
And that's important because we do, even as strong as we are, we get bogged down. We get okay.
Oh,
So it's on my.
every day.
I'm making a list, getting the book on the list.
Yeah, and just taking steps every day, knowing that you are, don't get overwhelmed with, oh God, I have so many things to do. Like just break it down into small parts.
I'm
And
going
that's
to use it because I do. I get overwhelmed, but now, thank
yeah,
you. Thank you. This is very helpful to me. All right.
yeah.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you, everyone. Blanca Blanco, the book is Breaking the Mold, and she definitely knows how to do that. And I'm Alison Arngrim, and this is the Alison Arngrim Show. Thank you.
Thank you.